Hello, Joe.
Hi, Brian.
Joe the Realtor. Joe the Realtor. Am I saying that right? Is it Realtor, Realtor, or Realtor? How do you say it?
It is Real Tour, not Realtor, Real Tour,
Joe
and
the
that
Realtor. Got it.
and um, that is actually the trademarked name of anybody who's a member of the National Association of Realtors. So whenever you see the word Realtor in print, technically it is supposed to be all caps with the little copyright sign next to it.
Yeah, the R with a circle around it.
Yeah.
And whenever I write our advertising copy or our website copy, I make sure to include that. And Realtor is all capitalized. And but it reminded me of that discussion that The Simpsons inspired, where I think one time I said nuclear, and you stopped me. You stopped me. You go, wait, you pronounce like that? Like, go, yeah. You're like, okay. I'm like, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, it's nuclear.
Nuclear,
Yes.
nuclear, Joe. It's pronounced nuclear.
Oh, well, at this point, I have not taken a listing on a nuclear power plant, so it's kind of a moot point.
There's only two in the state, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if that many, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah. If one goes on the market, it's half of all of them in Kansas. Yes.
that would be hilarious if you took on the nuclear real estate. We should just make a targeted advertisement to those two places. I think one's Wolf Creek. I don't know what the other one's called, but
Yeah.
um, I didn't even know we had them here in Kansas until I years ago I DJ'd one of their winter like dances or whatever for all the employees for like a Christmas holiday thing. And there's like 300 people there, and they're like, "Yeah, we're from Wolf Creek nuclear power plant." It's so hard to break that. And I'm like, I didn't know we had that. And I Googled it and like, oh my gosh, I'll be darned. We do have one. So
Hey,
actually
yeah,
a few of them.
it's not too far out of the Kansas City metro area. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's down by like Fort Scott, not too far out of KC.
Yeah.
I'm not
My big
mistaken.
thing on the website right now is like reviewing things. I should review the best nuclear power plants in Kansas and see how that goes.
I would read those reviews.
I don't know how I'd approach it. Well, this one has a better output than that output. I don't know. I don't. The parking lot looks nicer in this one.
Have you had the snacks from the commissary at the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant in Arizona? They are magnifique. Yes.
And also, I should say, I'm also recording from beautiful Hayes, Kansas right now. If you are driving from Kansas City on the way to Denver, odds are you stopped here in Hayes, Kansas, just off I-70, from my parents, visiting my parents. And Joe just asked me because I was clearing my, every time I go on, before we go on like the podcast, I like to warm up the pipes a little bit, clear them out.
Yes.
And that involves me shrieking and yelling as loud as I can. And Joe was like, "Hey, did your parents hear that?" And I got to tell him this house was built in 1983, and my father, the team he built this back in the early 80s. This thing is solid. Like we had 55-mile-an-hour wind yesterday, and you could not tell at all. Like you couldn't hear the walls shake. The only way you could tell is the chimney. You can hear it blowing through that. But this house is not moving. You can't hear very much. It is built like a bunker. So I don't know what's different about building a house from 1983 in Western Kansas versus anywhere else, but this thing is built solid.
There could be a lot there. My folks built a house in 1986 and stepped up from 2x4 to 2x6 framing on their walls, and that can make a big difference.
Yeah, I
It's kind
yeah I have no idea. I mean,
of,
I don't know. I did not ask Dad to draw up the show me the blueprints or whatever, but it just feels like I don't know. It just feels so much more solid.
yeah.
And the front facing, I don't know if it's brick accent or whatever. There's brick accents. I don't know if the front house is just all brick or whatever, but yeah, it is something else compared to my house. It was built in 2009. It's a little bit. I mean, you can tell it's storming outside from my house.
Hmm.
Just I don't know if it's just the way they built it or just how it is. It's we love our house clearly, but it's just
Yeah.
not as I would. I think it's fair to say my parents' house is built much more solid than my house. So yeah, real tour, real tour.
Nuclear.
Speaking of Realtor, let's talk about Realtor to sell your house in Lawrence, Kansas. Joe, tell me about Lawrence, Kansas. Like, first off, how does it work? Are you allowed to sell in Lawrence, Kansas?
I am. I don't do a lot of business in Lawrence. Were I to get a client who wanted to do business in Lawrence, I know that that's where you're based out of. That may be something you would handle, but Lawrence and the Kansas City Metro aren't all that far apart anymore. You know, the Kansas City Metro keeps growing west and towards Lawrence, and I wouldn't call Lawrence a suburb of Kansas City, but it's not that big of a deal to just run out to Lawrence anymore. And they are now a part of our Regional Association of Realtors. There's that word again, Realtor. And so it is easier for agents based in the KC Metro to go out and show in Lawrence and vice versa. They used to have their own board of realtors and their own lock boxes, and it used to be a lot more difficult to show in Lawrence. And that's actually a pretty recent thing. When you were buying your house in Lawrence, we got with a Lawrence real estate agent because I couldn't access the homes unless I joined the Lawrence board of realtors and got their iBox keys. So.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, it's a curious kind of a situation. Whenever I was going through real estate, getting my license, and it made it sound like Lawrence is a little bit different than, say, which, tell me if this is true. Like, Lawrence is technically the KC metro area, would you say?
It depends how you look at it. I mean, when they do, like, one of the ways I look at it, and I think when people think of metro areas, this is kind of what they think of is in terms of media markets. Like, you guys get the Kansas City TV and radio stations out there.
Right.
And so if it's kind of considered part of the Kansas City media market, it's kind of considered part of the metro. I could go either way on calling it part of the metro.
It's hard for me to think that. It's hard for me to think that it's part of the metro.
Yeah.
Like, I would, if people tell me to do it, I will. But it's,
Yeah.
it's a 45-minute drive from downtown Kansas City, on the Missouri side, I should say. But it's about a 30-minute drive to about to, I don't know, is it Lenexa or Leawood? Is about
Yeah, if that. I mean, you hit K10 from the west side of 435, you're really only on K10 for about 15 minutes. You know, some people, the way they drive, like, it's more like 5 or 6 minutes, but people do not obey the speed limit on K10. Of course I do. I wouldn't admit to anything illegal here.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You drive like a saint.
I do. I do well. And I've put curb feelers on my car, and no, I have not. But
yeah, I find myself, whenever I'm like putting together any kind of advertising materials or websites or social media stuff, I instinctually I am separating Lawrence. I'll say, like, Joe the Realtor works in the KC metro area, Lawrence, Kansas, Topeka. You can if you want to, and I separate Lawrence from KC, the KC metro. So yeah, something about that. I don't know if it's just I don't want to confuse people, because, like, if you have someone new coming to town and they're like, they want to live in the KC metro and they're thinking Overland Park or Olathe, and you drive them 45 minutes to Lawrence, they'll be like, what are you doing? Why are we out here?
yeah, that's a good way to think of it too. Yeah. Well, but yeah, Lawrence, I mean, it's only just now gotten as close as it has to the KC metro, and being a college town, that stood on its own for, since like the 1830s. It's really got its own identity and kind of stands on its own out there. So yeah, I don't know. Even if development from what we consider the KC Metro ran right up to Lawrence, I think Lawrence would still keep a lot of its character.
I think you're right. And speaking of that, did you watch the big game?
I did. I assume you're referring to the KU NCAA championship game.
Yeah, I am referring to the NCAA KU men's basketball championship game of 2022 for the 2021-2022 season, where it was the KU Jayhawks versus the North Carolina Tar Heels, and University of UNC Tar Heels, I should say. And that was something else. We were down by 16 at one point. Is that right, Joe?
At least 15 at the half.
Yeah.
And I was just like starting to, console myself by thinking, well, at least we made it this far this year. Wow. And then, yeah, the
That thing that
comeback.
that comeback was erased within like 6 minutes of the second
Yes.
half. It just evaporated like it never happened. I was like, I remember going into the second half because it was so weird. Um, Things were going UNC's way, and I remember looking at my wife, Tanya. You've met Tanya, and
Hmm.
I just look at her and I'm like, I feel like we're playing better though.
Yeah.
We're like they're getting more second chance offensive reboards. We're not making our free throws, but I just feel like we're executing more. We're just playing better, even though it's a weird thing to say when you're down 15. It's almost like a self-soothing, or I'm trying to cope with it. But I swear to God, I was like being honest. I'm like, I feel like we are doing better though, and then it came out in this first 6 minutes of the second half, and we just lit it up, and UNC went cold, and we took
Yes.
advantage.
Yeah. And I don't know that something about a come from behind win. I don't want to, I mean, being a KU grad myself, they're all special, but there's something a little more like to it when you come from behind and you really earn it. But but yeah, that second half they just came out so hot and never let up, and that was it. That was it. That was,
We
you
need to
build.
check. We need to check last 2009 real estate prices. I wonder if like real estate prices went up. Probably not in 2009. I wonder if this will have any effects on our real estate market. Just like home to the world champion or the NCAA champions. Or
You know, I don't know that it affects price much, but big events, like when the Royals were in the playoffs for 2 years in a row, those baseball playoffs draw out so long. I remember those falls in 2014 and 2015, they were pretty quiet. You know, usually we start to see seasonal slowdowns and, in around Thanksgiving, maybe a little before, but during baseball playoff season in 14 and 15, people were so starved for a good baseball team and everybody just dropped everything.
Mhm.
And it, it was so funny. I can't prove it, but anecdotally, my observation, it just seems like right after the World Series and especially after New Year's, things just came back so quickly. And I really feel like that had an effect on people shopping for homes.
They just
Um,
didn't want to. They put off buying a home for a little bit so they can enjoy the
yeah.
baseball experience and then pick it back up as soon as it was ready to go.
I mean, if you remember 14 and 15 in the fall in Kansas City, first of all, everybody turned everything blue that they could. And second of all, when there was a playoff game, I mean, God help you if you needed emergency surgery or anything like that. I don't think anybody was working. It's like,
I remember I was living in downtown Kansas City whenever that happened, and that was something very special. But yeah, um, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's more of I think of Lawrence in terms of like I can't imagine a national championship like that, but it adds to kind of the brand that is Lawrence and the experience that is Lawrence. Like if
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's always cool to see your town get national attention, and they have like you're watching ESPN or you're watching CBS and you see Mass Street on there, and like, oh, that's fun. I hang out there all the time,
Yeah.
and
Well, for Lawrence and for Kansas in general too, I like anything that reinforces the basketball tradition in Kansas. I think for there are a few states people think of like Indiana, North Carolina, and Kansas when they think of basketball, and I think more championships just adds to the richness of that tradition and that history, and really really puts us in, I guess, elite company with I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this way. Basketball states. Like
mhm.
who just casual. Brian, what are your favorite basketball states? But I think Kansas earns that if there
Well,
is such a thing.
college basketball, I suppose.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
NBA
true.
someday.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true.
you ever watch like an NBA game versus a college game? And like, obviously, we're college
Yeah,
basketball fans. We don't really have an NBA
yeah.
to follow. But then I do watch the playoffs in the NBA, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is so much faster. It is unbelievable. Everyone there is so good, And actually, it was I think it was Kevin Durant was on a podcast with it was a JJ Redick or another player. I think it was him. And the people were like, I remember one of the questions they get asked is like, why don't you play defense? And he's like, look, it's not that we don't know how to play defense. It's just that everyone is really good. And those 2-3 sets that you see, or these sets that they do in college, don't work. Everyone's like one-on-one. They're making a big play. Everyone can maneuver. Everyone's fast. It doesn't work that way. So it was like getting kind of mad about it. It's like, we know how to play defense, damn it. It's just everyone's so good.
Yeah, in the NBA, it almost looks like guys can just score at will, But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's amazing how different the games are. The guys in the NBA are, I mean, college players are big, but NBA guys, they're NFL size guys now.
Oh, yeah,
They're huge.
big and fast, and yeah, it's just that it's just when you take the best of a very challenging league like the NCAA men's basketball. All right, the best ones, which is the top 3%, go here. I'm like, oh, good lord, this is going to be really intense. So, yeah. So speaking of cities in Kansas, with moving on from Lawrence, I want to talk about Olathe, Kansas, and you're familiar with Olathe, Kansas. Is that right, Joe?
Very much so. Yeah.
I want to talk about so if you want to buy a new home, you're familiar with new homes. Buying a new house in Olathe, Kansas, what's it look like there right now?
Well, it's one of the areas where there are a lot of new homes communities. It So there's a lot of variety there. There's a lot of price points. Olathe covers a lot of ground. It's a big suburb, and geographically, area-wise, it's big, and there's still a lot of undeveloped parts of it yet to go. Yeah, there's a pretty wide variety out there. A lot of the newer stuff is out there. It is someplace where you can find, single family homes, attached homes, maintenance provided. There's homes of all ages there. There are neighborhoods that were established back in the late 70s, early 80s, that when I think about when they were first built, they would have been out there, but now the way the KC Metro has grown in Johnson County and Olathe, a lot of the areas have filled in, and there's just a lot out there.
Yeah, there's seems like a lot of is development still going on in Olathe? Are they still building, like probably not at the same pace or at the same pace that you're used to? Is it just keep on going kind of?
They're they're going as fast as anybody else, which is kind of dictated by materials and labor right now. But yeah, the pace of growth in Olathe, I haven't checked for a while, but Olathe usually is one of the municipalities in the KC Metro that pulls a lot of permits, meaning a lot of new construction starts. But a lot of people think of, and geographically, I guess 175th Street is kind of the south border of Olathe. And when you get over that, now you're getting into the neighboring communities of Gardner and Spring Hill, and those areas are starting to take off. As Olathe, kind of, like I said, kind of runs up against its southern boundaries. And I say 175th Street, and I know people who know the area will think, well, that's not exactly it, but I don't think any of our city limits are perfectly square. So that is an approximation.
Okay. Did you know they canceled the parade of homes in Lawrence this year because there's not enough homes?
I did not know that, but the last couple of years and parade cycles, I guess you'll say, I know they, like the KC Metro, have spring and fall parade of homes. I noticed they only had a very small handful of homes on their parade, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of new ground to develop out in Lawrence. Like, you guys are kind of built out. There's just not a whole lot of new home. I know it's still there, but it's just not as prevalent.
That could be it. Yeah, I guess whenever I think about where the new developments are happening, it's on the west side of town, on the west side of Wakarusa, and it's houses that are, when you drive by K10 around the bypass there. and
Yeah.
they're building out that way. And these houses are going for like, I look at them up. I look them up. They're like 400 to 600,000 starting. So I don't
Yep.
know if that would be a first time home buyer kind of price range. Obviously, it depends on
No.
what your price range is, but I would say traditionally, statistically, that's not really it's not a starter home, right? That's not
No.
what
Then again, I think Patrick Mahomes' first home was like 1.5 million. So,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess if you are, one of the best QBs in, in the first five starting seasons, then maybe it's a little different for you. Then say you're like an account manager for an advertising firm into your junior level,
yeah.
and you're getting
Yeah.
started.
No, and that's true of new homes in general. They're not typically a person's or households or family's first home. They're usually their second or third, just because the pricing and with material costs where they are more so now than even just a couple years ago. So yeah, a new home is usually a move up thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Olathe, like you said, it looks like there's opportunities to there's land to build on, and you've been
Yep.
doing new homes in Olathe for a while. You do Gardner now, but I know you were in Olathe for a while, and the homes that are there are beautiful, and
Yep.
I like the neighborhoods that are being built out there. Actually, some guys I went to high school with are living out there too. So looks like a nice place to check out a new home and a new home construction in Olathe, Kansas.
Yeah.
Another we'll have to do an episode where we walk through like the step-by-step process what goes through a new construction when you're buying a new one. But yeah, it's it looks pretty fun. Whenever I go through those new homes that you would represent, they were really nice and they look so nice. They were just so fun because the finishes were so nice and the floor was so nice and it has that new home smell. It's just so cool.
It does. It does. And Brian, I don't sell junk. So of course, if I'm selling it, it's
Oh yeah,
nice.
yeah. If it's Joe
Yeah.
the Realtor, it's high quality,
Yeah.
the good stuff.
But,
Um,
but it's interesting to kind of watch. It's not like, I don't know if it's a conscious thing the builders are doing or if it's just something that's coming with the territory of pricing going up. But obviously with the per square foot costs of homes going up, you got to do a little more to set yourself apart. We're starting to see a bit more innovation and uniqueness in some of the homes. Where it used to be you could get a 2,800 square foot house for 325, $350,000. Now you're in the mid fives at 2,800 square feet in a lot of places. That does mean you do start to see some more features you didn't see before. Some finishes, tile in more places, or designer tile where there was just plain tile, things like that. So that's kind of interesting to watch. I don't know how to quite measure that or track that, but to my eye, it seems like that is something that is happening as the prices of the homes have gone up, with just due to what materials cost the builders these days.
I like how I wanted to do a funny video, like a real estate agent, but like in Eastern Europe, kind of like how Tanya, my wife Tanya, is from. She's a Ukrainian, and a lot of stuff's going on
Mhm.
right now. But she's doing fine, doing fine. It's just a lot of stuff's going on.
Yeah.
But before I remember she grew up in what is called I believe it's called a Stalinka, or it's one of those communist kind of properties, right? It's kind of built. They're built cookie cutter, right? All the same, and
Hmm.
every block has like has a building and has the pharmacy and a playground and all this stuff, and it's the city planning is very similar. And I always wonder be like wonder what it would be like to be like a real estate agent there. And they're like, so what is this house like? It's literally like the last four we looked at. It's just now down the street. And but yeah, I don't know. Well, that's funny now because now they go back now they can actually do some updates to it and add those finishes that they're kind of custom now that she's living in America. But I remember no, they're all built the same. They're all built to the same
Hmm.
plan, and there's not really a whole lot of options here, just kind of this or that. So, but yeah, though when you build a new house here, you can have a little bit more freedom in how you choose it.
Yes.
Though I do think sometimes, like when you're in a, when you're in a new development, maybe there's 3 or 4 or 5 models, and that's kind of what they go with. Or tell me I'm wrong. It feels like sometimes like there's limited options unless you want something specific to a new home. I never
It,
bought a new house, so I don't know.
It depends. Kansas City is unique in that we don't have a lot of mega builders in the metro area. Big companies that will buy developments and be the builder and developer on every home in there. A good example, and one that does a great job, but doesn't sell in the Kansas City market is Toll Brothers. But Kansas City's kind of the opposite. There's I could probably name, just in my career, I've probably worked with 4 dozen builders, at least. And they do have plans that, start to get successful, and they will build more of those than others. And so, yes, you do start to see some of the same plans duplicated in neighborhoods. But you see a lot more variation in new home subdivisions in Kansas City than I think you would in a lot of other metro areas. But so that's kind of unique to Kansas City, though. For simplification and costs and things like that, we are seeing a little less customization, at least at the price points I work at, and it's just a matter of, it's not that we don't want to do it. It's just really time consuming for a builder to run down pricing on like 5 little custom items people want in their homes. It's stuff like somebody was asking about a deeper bathtub, and it's like, oh gosh, I got to get with my plumbing supplier, wait for my plumbing supplier to get back with me, make sure it fits, and it can be a very time consuming thing. And so it's some of the mid-range and lower price points. You're starting to see a little less customization, but I think you still see a lot more variation in new homes in Kansas City than you do in a lot of other markets.
Yeah. And this kind of dovetails nicely into the next thing I want to talk about is selling a house in Olathe, Kansas. Talking about buying new homes. Now let's talk about selling a house. Seems like houses sell pretty quickly out there unless something's going on, or tell me I'm crazy, but it seems like is this what we call a seller's market? Is that what we call it?
It is, and by quite a large margin, this is a seller's market. Yeah, no, we've got about, I haven't seen the latest on the amount of inventory we have in Kansas City, but or Olathe specifically. But when I start a search, the first thing I click is active, and the first little number I see that comes up in the corner of my screen is the number of active listings metro wide. And it's been hovering around 3,500 for some time now. And a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, or we'll just say pre-pandemic, that number was regularly over 5,000. And so there's quite a drop in inventory. And Olathe is one of those places. If I just did a search for myself today, and the search criteria was pretty broad. Johnson County, 2-car garage, 2 or more bedroom, 2 or more bathroom, up to $350,000. And this included Olathe, and there was only like 18 homes that meet that criteria.
Wow.
So when that inventory is that low, you don't have much competition when you put your house on the market. Now, having said that, you can still miss the mark. I have seen people overprice their homes, and if you see a house that sits on the market after the first weekend it's been on the market, you can almost, in this general sales environment, I'm trying not to use the word market so much, but market, it means you missed the mark on the price by quite a bit. It is still possible to overprice a home in this environment.
Yeah, I mean, you can totally still, if you really get silly about it. Like, for example, there's a house for sale here in Hayes. I think it was 1,700 or 1,800 square feet. I saw photos of it. It's a Hayes, Kansas home. It's updated a little bit, but they marked it for 390, and you should have heard the belly laugh I let out. I'm like, 390 for, what was that per square foot? That's like $200 a square foot or something. Like, I don't know what that would be, but it was. So bizarre. So 390 divided by 1,700 square feet. Yeah, 229 a square foot in Hayes, Kansas. Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, I think they're what you just said just now. Like they're trying to see if there's some maniac out there who's wants
Yeah.
specifically that house for that amount of money. Or you know what? I guess I say maniac. I don't. I mean, maybe they'll find a buyer who, like, for whatever reason, likes that specific latitude and longitude location, and they're
Yeah.
willing to shell it out for that money. But I would say that's a rare thing to do.
Yeah. It would be. And now, having said that, I'm not too familiar with Hayes, but I don't know how much turnover there actually is in the market. I would also think it would be kind of hard to assess the value of a home there because I don't think Hayes, even a smaller community like Hayes, I think is still affected by inventory shortages if they're happening everywhere. So in a town that probably doesn't have much turnover to begin with, and then on top of that has short inventory, I can imagine it could be darn hard to price a home
Yeah,
out there.
and a lot of things have happened around here, especially like there's buyers from, like, we talked to real estate agents here, and there's buyers from California and Colorado, places where I would never imagine they want to live in, windy western Kansas. And I don't know if they have family or whatever, for whatever reason, they just want to change of pace in their lifestyle. But um, you know how with people working from home more,
Yeah.
you have more options to live where you want to live, and your money goes a lot farther here than it does a lot of other places in the country. But I don't know, like, if someone jumps in with 2 feet and buys a house, and I grew up here, I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna like this. It really is an adjustment, so you have to get used to it, because I've lived here like my first 21 years of life, and then I moved to Lawrence. And I love where I grew up, and I love my state of Kansas,
Yeah.
obviously. It's just like people who say they're going to move to Hayes. I'm like, well, you're going to have to adjust a little bit if you're used to like a city life or a Lawrence life, or it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
Not saying you can do whatever you want. If you want that, that's fine. But yeah, it's I get, and I say that with extra enthusiasm. Like if you're coming from a California or a big city like in like Denver, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. I've lived there too. It's just
Hmm.
it's slower, it's quieter, and there's the options are, you get to know your options, all of them, in the first few weeks. So get ready.
Yeah. 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 After week one, you really don't get lost anymore.
No, yeah, it's really but people are nice. Don't get me wrong, people are real nice, and there's a lot of fun stuff, and the colleges and the
Yeah.
schools are great. It's just like, I grew up in a metro, and you're used to like 100 bars in a big street. Like, okay, well, there's like about 9, maybe 10 here. And then you're gonna go through them pretty quick.
Well, and people listening to this, obviously you and me are in different locations and we're recording this over Zoom. I'll just let everybody who's listening know we are using every bit of bandwidth available in Hayes right now to do this podcast. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody else is online right now.
Yeah, no,
Your sis-
every one of those cracks in the Wi-Fi you've heard with Joe talking or me talking, that's because my wife sneezed near the router.
when your sister keeps texting you like, when can I get back on Netflix? Hello.
This isn't 1997 where you're like, can I use the internet now? I'm like, this isn't dial-up. Of course it can.
Somebody tries to send a fax and all the lights in town go out. I don't know.
It's a dot matrix. Like, who's using a dot matrix printer right now? Come on.
I happen to know your parents' home phone number only has 3 digits, so yeah.
that would that would really be helpful too. But no, isn't it weird you can memorize your phone number too? By the way, I was like, I don't ever. Here's a weird thing I do. Like, I don't put my parents' cell phone numbers. I don't put them as mom or dad in my cell phone. I have them as the number. So just in case something weird happens and I don't have my phone with me and I need to call them, I have their numbers memorized.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't. I don't think I've memorized a number in 10 years.
Oh wow, you are walking a high. That's a tightrope high wire act right there. What you're doing, my friend.
Well, I realized this when I was going out to my new homes community in Gardner, and I was looking at the signs, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. I haven't memorized that number yet. That's kind of an important number for me to know.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure. Well, yeah, I did the same thing for Tanya. I have her phone number memorized just in case. Like, I'm not to say there's a payphone out there somewhere that I'm going to have to use, but I don't know why I have this weird situation in my mind where I somehow get separated from my mobile device and I need to call somebody. But it's just a weird. And I could always call my house phone here in Hayes, but I've watched my
Mhm.
dad 3 times let it ring, he not answer it. I think he's given up on the home phone. He's like, call my cell if you want to talk to me.
Doesn't your dad actually have a ham radio that you have to hail
That would
him
be so
on?
cool if we had a ham radio. That would rule. No, but we have a lot of ham, a lot of ham sandwiches.
That's your dad's podcast, Randy's Ham Radio. That's his. That's his. He talks about ham and his ham radio. And
It's, yeah, it's just
oh,
basically me explaining
back,
Dr.
back
Oz.
up, back up the tape. I don't want anybody stealing that idea. Can we?
I can back it up. Yeah, backing. I will rewind the Wi-Fi here in Hayes.
It's, well, it's Hayes. We are on reel to reel, aren't we? I mean,
Yeah, this is real to real. This is like something out of Doc Brown's 1955 house, Back to the Future.
it's a tape recorder that actually has a pilot light for some reason. Yeah.
All right, last thing I want to talk about is still Lawrence, Kansas. We reviewed this on the blog on the website. It's the best Mexican restaurants in Lawrence, Kansas, and I do say that with a little bit of, because some of these restaurants they identify, like the way they present themselves as Latin America cuisine, but they do use the word Mexican food within the language itself, like when they're talking about it. So, and that made me learn a little bit, dig a little bit, like where, the Latin American cuisine, Mexico is a part of Latin America. Whereas if we just say that everything's Mexican food, that's not fair to somebody saying from Brazil or Ecuador or
Yeah.
anywhere else. So, but anyways, with that in mind, I think we all get the idea. Joe, do you remember what your favorite Mexican restaurant was, or the first place that comes to mind
I
when you think
do.
about it?
For me, it's El Mezcal, and
Mezcal, yeah,
I
that's
just
good.
remember one. It seems like you get a ton of food there, and everything is good, and so that was my go-to when I lived in Lawrence was El Mezcal, and they have a couple locations, don't they? Do they still have two locations there?
I've only known the one on 23rd Street. They
Okay,
might have a
I thought they
second.
had.
I'll have to
I
look
thought
it
they
up.
had one on Iowa, at least for a while,
I
like
guess
around Ninth in Iowa, 8th in
let me
Iowa,
Google it.
somewhere.
El Mezcal, Lawrence, Kansas. Let me
Yeah.
look it up here. Okay, I have one on 23rd Street, and I'm not seeing a second one. It looks like it's just
Okay.
23rd Street.
Yeah. So don't look for one on Iowa. No, but
I like how, yeah, the idea of it being on Iowa. It's on 23rd, and just it's like cat a corner from the El Mezcal on Iowa on 23rd. Now
yeah.
it's in the
Hey, they saw Starbucks do it, so they do it.
yeah,
So,
El Mezcal is next to the CVS restaurant, and then across Iowa, it's also in where the Texas Roadhouse is. There's an El Mezcal over there too, just to cover our bases, make sure we get both
yeah.
sides of Iowa Street, Iowa.
Now, having said that, Lawrence is very peculiar. I don't know, peculiar is the word, but it's hard to find bad Mexican there. Somehow, it ended up with quite a few good Mexican restaurants or
Oh
Latin
yeah,
restaurants.
yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, El Mezcal was the first place I went to, first Mexican restaurant I went to, and when I moved to Lawrence in 2004 ish. And actually, the one I declared the best overall pick was La Paria. It's on Mass Street. And
That's a great one.
oh, is that good? That is so good. Yeah, the way they cook the food, it's fresh. It's authentic. They something about the experience there, the taste and the way when you experience, like it really just the flavors really come to life, and it's a nice experience sitting around there. And they've moved since the pandemic. You can sit outside. They've expanded the outdoor seating area as well. But yeah, oh yeah. Have you done La Paria lately, Joe?
Not lately. I'll have to. Well, we may have to go there next time I come up to Lawrence.
Oh yeah, we're going to La Paria. That's the good one. Also, another favorite is Salito Lindo. We've been there before, haven't we? I feel like you and I have been there together. Salito Lindo. It's on New Hampshire.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
They have the big outdoor
Yeah.
seating area. So when you walk by, it's next to the parking lot there. Normally, it's one of the parking lots you park on when you want to go hang out in Mass Street.
Yeah.
And Tanya and I, one of our favorite bars is Henry's upstairs, and we would occasionally, there was Salito Lindo. If we wanted to eat something before going and having fun with our friends, we'd eat at Salito Lindo, or there was a sushi restaurant. I think the sushi restaurant's gone now, but it used to be Yokohama, and it's gone now. But we would eat at Salito Lindo, and what I love about Salito Lindo is whenever it's really busy, there's just people everywhere there, and the margaritas is just like they have a great price on margaritas, a great price on food, and it's lively, and everyone seems to go there. It's like a very popular spot to go to. So yeah, I like Salito Lindo.
I do remember margaritas being very good there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and the indoor, like the visual experience when you walk in, it's a lot of fun. Something about it, it's just you walk in, the colors are bright and the music's fun. And everyone there seems like a lot of fun.
now, how spicy do you go on your Mexican? Do you like it pretty spicy or?
Oh, no, I do not. I am a wimp when it comes to spice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, have you ever like been on a date where you like order something too spicy? It's like a Ben Stiller moment where like you order something, you get really sweaty, you get gross, you can't think. And I don't know if that's happened to me like back in the day where you're like, I need to be able to think and not sweat while I'm eating because it just looks so unattractive. But I know people who know people who can eat the hottest stuff ever and
Yeah.
not, it doesn't faze them. But it
Yeah.
fazes them. How about you?
I I like a bit of spice. Like when they bring out like the two salsas, I'll mostly use the mild one, but I like a few bites of the spicy stuff. And if it's spicy, it's like, hey, here's the mild, here's the hot, and here's something the CIA uses to get answers out of people. I'm like, ooh, that sounds good.
This is advanced interrogation techniques.
Yes. Yeah.
They take your tongue. And you ever have like, okay, so whenever I watch that Hot One show where they do the Scoville things where people have to be interviewed while they're eating hot food,
Yes.
hot wings, I should say. I remember taking a bag a long time ago. Someone gave me like one of those hot, like hottest experiences ever, and it literally like, yeah, it like there's some people who get they can't think, they can't talk, they have to walk it out or drink water, they can't do anything. That would be me on that show. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would be such a horrible interview experience. Number one, because I've not done anything that a famous person has done, and two, I would also not be able to talk after eating that. So
I don't know. You got some good stories.
yeah, I suppose you're right. We should steal that idea and do it on this show, but we won't record ourselves. It'll just be us freaking out, audio only, screaming into the microphone.
and then pictures of us in the hospital afterwards. Yes.
Or like, okay, how about this? Like, it's called eating spicy food and then rubbing your eyes immediately after. And then we'll eat it, and then we'll rub our eyes, and then we'll try to like talk to each other.
I don't know why I'm laughing. That sounds awful.
There's one glass of milk in the whole room. It's like that movie Saw, but instead of a saw, there's a glass of milk, and one person has to get it. Well, there's a key, and you have to get it a glass of milk. But yeah. But were you going to say something? I feel like I cut you off.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I could see us setting up that rub spicy stuff on your eyes thing, and you being like, okay, you go first. I changed my mind. I'm not going to do it. What? My eyes are burning. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I just envisioned you being evil just now.
Well, for the complete list of the best Mexican restaurants in Lawrence, go to our website. It's under the reviews Lawrence area. Just to name them off, it's number 1, La Paria, La Estrella, El Potro, Salito Lindo, El Mezcal, and Mi Ranchito. I hope I'm saying that properly too. Mi Ranchito. I remember back in the day, there was a lot of my friends would recommend Mi Ranchito. And yeah, they got good stuff there too. I remember going there in college a lot after classes, or remember that was a popular place to go like at the end of year for a lot of students to kind of, everyone get together. So it was a popular spot. But check out the full list on our website. We'll have it listed there, and I'll even tweet it out and post it along with our podcast when this comes live, when we publish this as well. So yeah. All right, Joe, we've come to the end of the podcast. Here we are.
We talked about my two favorite things, real estate and spicy food. So
real estate, new homes, Hayes, Kansas, and how how our technology apparently is from 1930s or something. But yeah,
we, we confused the hell out of Ma Bell when we set up this Zoom call. Yeah, it was.
Joe the REALTOR, everybody. Joe the REALTOR, and we're gonna take a look at listing a nuclear power plant and go from there. Maybe we should make a funny mock listing for the power plant, and like how do we approach like positioning this as a thing to sell? That'd be kind of a fun idea.
I'll have to drop a special seller's disclosure with nuclear items on it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Then like we can even record like a social media listing. We would put together like a flyer and like highlight its the features and benefits of why you want to own this. So we should do that. That might be a fun meme thing for us to try. So okay, Joe Realtor, Joe Stevenson. Thank you
Thank you, Brian Reynolds.
Today. As always, fun. Please like, share, subscribe to our podcast. Check back often. You can find us on our website is ksrealtyagent.com, where we are reviewing Kansas living. We're reviewing real estate tips. If you're a real estate agent, you want to learn more tips, you can learn that there. If you're a prospective home buyer, you can learn a lot about maybe buying tips or buying strategies. Or if you're a seller, do you want to list your house? You can also find ways to, information about how to stage your home, list your home, and Joe, he's an expert, so you can always contact him and he'll help you out in any way you want. Isn't that right, Joe?
If I can sell a nuclear plant, I can sell your 3-bedroom house. Yes.
Joe the Realtor, everyone. Good episode, Joe. Talk to you later. Bye.
Talk to you, Brian.